Today is the day. Wow. This Ford GT just looks totally insane. Super clean. And that's because it's going to its new home. Yes, I sold the Ford GT. Transport is on its way right now to pick it up. The truck is here to take the GT all the way. Well, he came from a far away, but I'm not going to say from where.
I'm going to be extremely careful because my wife has asthma, so...
Yeah, I'll wear my mask too, no problem.
Okay.
Alright, so here we go. GT has all been inspected and is ready to go. I got my mask on to protect this gentleman who's picking up the car and taking it. Wow, it's been a great ride with this car. Very sad to see it go. But the time has come. Who knows? Maybe later on, I'll get another one. Let's check out the rig he's picking it up in. Pretty cool rig.
Not bad, eh?
Look at this. Wow. This will be super helpful to get out of the car.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Alright, last drive in the GT into the trailer. Let's go. Oh. Am I clear? Alright. There we go, all loaded up, safe and sound, off to its new owner. And now on to why I sold the Ford GT. Hey everybody, Brooks from Drag Times here. Obviously you're here because you see in the title of the video, I did sell my 2018 Ford GT. And let me tell you, it wasn't an easy thing to do. And in this video, I'm gonna tell you why I sold the Ford GT. And I'm gonna give you my final review of the car with regards to looks, performance, everything about the car that I experienced in the past 2 years. All right, so let's roll back to 2015 Detroit Auto Show. Ford released the brand new Ford GT, and wow, I mean, the entire automotive world pretty much went nuts over this car. It was just beyond its time in design and everything else. That design that came out of that show was just incredible. So I'm like, wow, I mean, what a dream car that would be to get someday. And in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, there's just no chance I would ever get a chance to own that car. Probably no matter what the price, just because it would be in such high demand. Fast forward to SEMA that year, and I got to see the car for the first time at the SEMA. So they had a yellow and black stripe Ford GT up in the huge Ford booth, up on this big stand thing. I got in front of that thing, took a picture, and just kind of gawked over it for a good, I don't know, 30 minutes or so. So then a couple years later, Ford came out and said, here's how we're going to allocate the Ford GTs, and there was going to be an application process. Instead of just sending them out to the dealers or the biggest dealers in the country and let them mark up the price accordingly, Ford said, we're going to make 500 cars, and we're going to have this application process, and you can apply based on, you know, your Ford history, your Ford GT history, I don't know, whatever else, you know, criteria there were. They also said you could make a video, and the video, although it wasn't super important, a lot of people thought it was. A lot of people put a lot of time and effort into making that video. So I figured, hey, why not? I got the old GT, which I've owned at that time probably 7 years or so. I was into social media, which Ford said that was part of the criteria. So I figured, hey, I got the YouTube channel, I got the old GT. Let me send my application in for one of these 500 cars and see what happens. So the application process came out in May 2016. I did my video, I submitted it. And 3 months later, July 2016, I was notified that I was selected to be one of those 500 people who gets to buy the Ford GT. So what an amazing time that was. I was just like flattered, super excited that I got chosen. And of course, that brings up a lot of things. Number one, you got to come up with, I think at the time it was starting at $450,000. They need to come up with $500,000 to buy this car. It's not like you can finance it. They need 50% of the money up front, and then 50% when you're done. So it's not like you can go finance a car that you didn't even have the title to or anything like that. So that was a lot of money. I ended up selling my McLaren 650S and my Ferrari F430 to prepare to get that GT, which actually didn't come till 2 years later. So 2 years from getting accepted to buy the car is when I actually took delivery. Now Ford, of course, if you didn't see in the media, they made you sign an agreement that says you cannot sell the car for 2 years after taking delivery. And that was when they said there was going to be 500 cars. So here's where it starts to get interesting. So later on, after I've already committed to buying the car and being one of the 500, so they came out and said, all right, well, everyone who got on the waiting list is now going to get a car, and bumped the production up to 750 cars. That's 50% more than they originally said. Of course, that was, a little bit of an issue, because you're like, wow, you're going to spend $500,000. You're pretty much guaranteed to lock in, value and have fun with the car and not have to worry about that kind of thing. And at the same time, I was kind of like, another 250 is not bad. A lot of my friends were actually on the waiting list. So I was like, that's cool. A lot of my friends will get the Ford GTs too. 750 is still a pretty good number when you compare it to, exclusive supercars and such. But then as time went on, they kept saying they're going to make more and more and more. So they went from the 750, I believe, said, all right, no, we're going to, and that first 500 was only supposed to be 2 years. 2 years of production. They make about one car a day. So that was be 2017, 2018. I was allocated 2018. So my car would have been like one of the last ones built based on where I was in the line, and that would have been kaput, 500 cars. So then they went to 750. Then they came out and said, all right, the demand's very high. I mean, obviously we knew that. There was like 7,000 applications that went in. They only picked 500 and then 750. So demand's very high. We're going to make 1,000 cars. And then they went and said, we're gonna run another application process for people who still want cars and pick another 350. So we went from 500 to 750 to 1,000 to 1,350 cars. So that's a big difference. Obviously, me signing out at the beginning and being locked into keeping the car 2 years based on 500, all that's changed. It's not like Ford went back and said, oh, because we're making so many cars, you can sell it. No, you're still locked in. Instead of going to 2 years production, they're now having 6 years of production. 2017, they announced they'll finish up the run in 2022. And of course, there's all kinds of special editions that came out after mine, heritage editions that came after mine, new paint schemes, carbon edition, full carbon, race cars on top of that. Now let's also add to that, they bumped the horsepower from, not a lot, 647 horsepower from my car to 660 horsepower. I was advised that the 660 horsepower is not retrofittable to my car, and honestly, it probably doesn't make that big a difference. It's just, 660 horsepower in this day isn't really even enough. If you're going to spend $500,000, and actually the price of these cars actually increased as well. So I think the car now, if you ordered mine right now, would be an additional $75,000 above, what I paid on my car. But in these days, if you're going to spend $600,000, everyone is going to give you well over 700 horsepower. So that kind of made me a little worried that, in 2021, they're going to bump this thing up even more to possibly 700 horsepower more. And me being the performance enthusiast, didn't want to have the 647 horsepower car. Even though it's not a straight line car, I get it, but at the end of the day, I like speed and I like going fast and I like the acceleration. So I'm always going to want the most horsepower possible. Making the car 6 years instead of 2, having a lot of unknowns of where the value is going to be, I firmly believe long term the value is going to be just fantastic. Even with 1,350 cars, the looks of this car is just like nothing else out there still. Nothing really competes with it on the look side. This got hypercar looks 100%, but with supercar performance. So, for me right now, it makes sense for me to go ahead and sell it. I'm not going to say how much I got. I'm not going to say who got it. It's a private transaction, but I will say that I did very well, and I'm very grateful to Ford, DBK, and the Ford GT forums who helped me along the way with the speccing and everything else about learning about the car and so forth. And I'm hoping one day, maybe later on, I would own another one. But I can say the selling process, I didn't go super public about it. Obviously, there's not many yellow and black striped cars. There's way more heritages out there. So when a yellow and black car hit the market, a lot of people knew the car was mine. There's a lot of brokers out there lowballing, taking pictures of the car and posting it elsewhere, pitching it to people that I was already talking to for lower prices, which is kind of getting in the middle of all the transactions. So I got to admit it was quite a frustrating experience. But at the end of the day, I ended up selling the car on my own to a buyer that I connected with myself. And really didn't need that help, although those people could have been very helpful in the process. I ended up just getting it done myself. Now, with regards to social media, obviously Ford picked people, a certain amount of people, not many, I would say maybe 10 to 15 max, on social media merit to give the car really good exposure online. And I felt like I really did that part. I mean, I had the car 2 years, but I did do a couple races. I did a lot of charity events. I did car shows. I put the car in the dyno. I took the car up to the Porsche Tower. And all those videos together have gotten over 10 million views on YouTube. And I think, Shmi and I are probably the two main kind of people on social media, on YouTube, and doing a lot of things with our cars. So I think I did my part there. I hope Ford really looked at that, or maybe they don't at all, and appreciates that. Towards the end of the run, hey, I wouldn't mind speccing another one. We'll actually probably do another yellow and black stripe car, except this time, because now they have carbon editions, you can leave the black stripes exposed carbon to match the lower side skirts and the wheels and so forth. So, that's an option I would 100% pick if it was available when I bought my car. All right, so on to my final review. Performance-wise for the car, it does really well. I did take it to the quarter mile one time, and it ran okay. It doesn't have a lot of that oomph off the line, and I was told that they're pulling back power in the lower gears because whoever's making the transmission wouldn't warranty a certain amount of torque in the transmission. So while I'm not going to say it's sluggish. I mean, it still does 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds and runs the quarter mile in high 10s. But given the trap speeds which I'm seeing, off the strip when good weather of upwards of 133 miles an hour, the car should easily be in the mid 10s. And even with a dead hook on these tires, these Cup Sport 2s, it just didn't have that 0 to 60 pull off the line to get those good quarter mile times. Of course, it's a track car, not a quarter mile car. I get it. But nevertheless, hey, Ford put launch control in the car for a reason, and that is to launch it. So it's not like they didn't think about it at all. There is launch control in the car. On the road course, I personally didn't really take mine road coursing at all. I did a parade lap around. For me, it's just too expensive a car to put at risk like that, and it's really hard on the car as well, on the brakes and all that kind of stuff. But I did get professional rides around in Utah at one of the Ford GT rallies with a pro driver, and I can tell you this car in the right hands is just phenomenal. It is literally a race car for the street. With regards to looks, there is no question this is hypercar looks. I mean, you pull up to a car show in this car, and you could be in a sea of Ferraris, Lamborghinis, McLarens, and this car stands out. This is at the level of, looks-wise, an attraction of tension is, Koenigsegg, Bugatti, and everything like that. It's just a phenomenal looking car. However, it doesn't have hypercar performance. It clearly has supercar performance. As for the interior of the car, very, very race-oriented. Even though the car is very big, the driver and the passenger are basically sitting shoulder to shoulder all the time. I felt like the seats were great in this car compared to other, race-oriented cars. Very ergonomic, very race-oriented. It's got the shift lights at the top. The view out the front is awesome. View out the back, not so good. I mean, you almost need a spotter when backing up this car, and it's just really hard to kind of judge where you're at with the visibility out the rear. But that's hardly a ding for a supercar. All right, so that's a wrap of why I'm selling the GT and my kind of final review of the car. Again, if Ford stuck to making 500 cars, this would be in my garage for probably forever. I'd be locked in. I really, really love the car. But again, with all the unknowns of how many cars they're making, 2 years to 6 years, maybe they're going to come out with 700 plus horsepower, and I'm kind of here sitting with the 650 horsepower version. All those kind of factors played into my 2 years coming up. Another factor was, I checked into warranty extensions. I just will mention this. So the car comes with a 3-year warranty. Over 2 years into that warranty, Ford not having the ability for me to extend that warranty was a little disturbing because I don't know what the costs are to repair this car. So that's a kind of a big unknown. And when you sell a car, you want to make sure that the buyer has that confidence that if something goes wrong while they have the car, they can get that straightened out. You can get extended warranties with Lamborghini, Ferrari, McLaren, no problem. So I thought it was a little disappointing that I couldn't extend that warranty on the Ford GT. Nevertheless, the car is gone. I guess we got to talk about what's next. You saw I sold the Huracan. I'm probably replacing that with an Evo, a Ferrari F8, or maybe even a Ferrari Pista. Believe it or not, I'm not a Ferrari hater. Really not much that you can really replace this car and get that kind of hypercar looks without spending, a ton of money. And those cars, some of them are out of warranty and they're a little risky as well. So 918 Spider, definitely a possibility. I'd love to have that car. A McLaren P1, would love to have that car. But then again, I would be really interested in this next gen of hybrid supercars that are coming out. Mainly, the first one to market is going to be that Ferrari SF90. So 1,000 horsepower, all-wheel drive, V8 twin turbo with electric is pretty much my ultimate kind of dream car for my garage. Great for kind of any kind of experience, whether it's 0 to 60, drag racing, launch control, electric power, instant torque. So, you know, I'm not sure where McLaren's at. I know they're coming out with some hybrids as well, but it looks like first to market could be the Ferrari SF90. So anyone from Ferrari that wants to put me on a list, let me know. I'm definitely interested in that. So there you go. Thanks for watching why I sold the Ford GT in my final review. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I will keep you posted of what's coming up for possible replacements in my garage and whatever else we're doing next. Thanks for watching.